Hi, my name is Teresa Funke and I'm your writer's coach, back with some tips to help you get your writing career moving in the right direction that works for you. Now, the question that I'm answering today actually comes from one of our members, and it's a very common question that affects writers at every level of their development. And that is, how do we find time for our writing? Now, the person who wrote in is a busy mom with small children and a part-time job, and her writing is what always suffers. And she asked if I had any tips on how to prioritize or arrange her tasks better. Well, let's talk for a minute about how writing affects most of us in the early stages of our career. Most of us are not lucky enough to be able to quit our full-time jobs and devote ourselves entirely to our writing. So we tend to fit in our writing amongst the various other things that we have to do every day. This makes writing seem more like a hobby than anything else. So let's go with that for a minute. Let's assume that writing is your hobby for now, and that you hope someday to change that. If it is your hobby, let's look at some of the other hobbies you have in your life and the commitments you make to those. For example, if you decided to join a volleyball league, you would commit to showing up for practice 2 nights a week and being available for games on Saturday. And it wouldn't be negotiable. Once you sign up, you are committed, and you are accountable because your team is counting on you. Now, it's not like that with writing. In our case, we are responsible for motivating ourselves, and it doesn't really matter whether or not we show up for the work to anybody but us. So it makes it difficult to make a commitment to writing in the same way we do to some of our other hobbies. So it comes down partly to owning our decision to create time for writing. Just as you own the fact that you are a volleyball player and you say, I'm on a volleyball team, rather than saying, well, I'm kind of dabbling in writing, or I write when I have some time, or I think I'd like to write a book someday. You need to commit to your writing and say, I'm a writer. Say, I'm working on a book on Saturday mornings. And let people know that this is something that you are committed to, just as you would have committed to that team. Now, once you own the decision that writing is going to be an important part of your daily routine, you need to get the people involved in your life to own it as well. So when you sign up for a volleyball team and you tell your family you're going to be gone at that time, they don't question it. You've made a commitment and you have to show up. You're going to have to arrange your life in a way that they no longer question your decision to write. So that, of course, leads us to the most difficult question, which is how to find the time to write. And also for a lot of people, it comes down to expenses. So if you can't afford to hire somebody to help you find the time to write, think about it this way. When I first started writing and I was a young mother, very busy and no money, I arranged a swap with a friend of mine. She'd watch my kids one afternoon a week and I'd watch hers. Now during her time, she ran errands, but during my time, I wrote. I had to be very committed to make sure that I did not use that time to do other things. But what it did was it forced a schedule on me and on the people around me. My kids knew that on that afternoon they were going to their friend's house, and they came to count on it and to look forward to it. I was also committed to her because if I didn't follow through and take my kids to her house, she wouldn't feel like she could bring her children to mine. So by making that arrangement that cost me nothing, it forced me to learn to have a schedule for my writing, and also to see that on those days when I spent 3 hours writing or 4, I still managed to get everything else done. So it gave me the confidence to see that I could carve out time for my writing in a way that worked for me. Now, once your life does change a little bit and you're able to devote a little bit more time to your writing, and maybe writing becomes more serious to you, then you start to look at other options. For example, if you don't have a lot of money, if that's an issue, you maybe hire the 12-year-old girl next door who charges $4 an hour. And she comes over for 1 hour every day after school. Now you commit that hour to just writing. You maybe go downstairs to your basement and you don't let her interrupt you. But that's 5 hours a week for which you're only paying $20. And because you've committed to her, even though she's just a young girl, you're going to stick to it because you know she's counting on that money. And as time goes further on, you may wind up hiring somebody, a nanny, to come for a regular writing routine. But it needs to build in the way that works for you and in the way that you can afford. So in order to make this happen, I'm going to teach you a mantra. And if you can adapt this mantra to your life, you're going to find that it benefits not only your writing life, but your entire life. It's going to take a lot of stress off your shoulders, and it's going to make everything in your life seem more manageable. Now that mantra is this: if it is a priority, it will get done. If it's a priority, it will get done. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking that, like all writers, I'm standing up here telling you, if you make your writing a priority, you'll do it. But I know it's not as simple as that, because I've been where you are now. What I'm actually asking you to do is challenge yourself to restructure your idea of priority, and to understand that the things that really need to get done in your day will get done, and to learn to trust that. So for example, if you have a project that you have to do for your boss tomorrow, and you know from experience that project is going to take you about 2 hours, we have a tendency to say, well, of course my job comes first, so I'm going to do my project for my boss. Well, then what happens is we get done with that project, and it's about time for dinner, so we make dinner, and we clean up the kitchen, and we say, if I have time later, I'll write. And we almost never do, because by the end of the day, we're tired, and we are no longer in the mood to write. So I'm going to challenge you once in a while to try to flip that equation around. Stick to your writing time in the afternoon, with the knowledge that if something is a priority and needs to get done, you will make sure that it does, because it has to. So you stick to your writing time, knowing that that evening you're going to have to do that project for your boss. And you know what? You will, because you have to. Now what that means is, maybe you don't go on Facebook that night, or walk the dog, or do the dishes. But the project for your boss will get done, even if you have to stay up till 1 o'clock to do it. And you didn't sacrifice your writing time. Were the dishes and the Facebook a priority? No. Because if they were, they would have gotten done. Now come morning, when you are out of cereal bowls, those dishes become a priority. But for that day at that time, they were not the priority. Now this is a little bit different thinking than we're used to say take something that you know is really important, don't sacrifice your writing time, trust that you're going to get that other thing done because you have to, and just try it for a week. I understand you can't try it with everything, but try it with some of the things that you consider your priorities and see how it flips your day around so that you actually have time to write. And you want to find a support system, people who value writing as much as you do. I think I hear from women especially, a lot of times they'll say things like, I don't know, I feel guilty when I take time to write. You know, like it's just for me and there's more important things that I should be doing. So you need to surround yourself with people who also value writing time and think it's important. That's why I'm such a big fan of writers groups, because you're in a group of people who think that writing is important enough that they're going to dedicate some time to come to the group. And they're going to give you deadlines which holds you accountable. Another good thing to do would be to take a writing class, because then you're going to have to carve out a certain amount of time in your week, every week, that you have committed to being at that class. And it shows not only you, but your family, that you can deal with having some writing time in your week and it's not going to throw everything off. The next thing you can do is think about working with somebody like me, a writer's coach. A lot of my clients first came to me because they had a particular project they wanted to complete in a certain amount of time. And they knew that with their busy lives, they needed someone to hold them accountable. That if they were going to meet with me every month, they had to have work that they could turn in to show me, or we weren't going to have a productive meeting. And they were going to be paying me for nothing. So the payment also formed a sense of accountability, and they were able to stay on track and make progress in their career. So remember that you do need some support and you can't do it alone. And remember one more thing too. Writers are terribly judgmental of ourselves. We're very critical and we use a lot of negative words when we talk about our failures to write. Life is going to happen. You are going to have those days when your kids are sick and your mother's car breaks down and you need to rescue her, and your demands at work are stronger than they usually are. Don't beat yourself up for those days that life gets in the way and you can't write, because some things really do matter more than the writing. On the other hand, if all you have is 2 hours in your week to write, then dedicate those 2 hours and make it a commitment and stick to it. Because I can promise you this, the more you write, the more you will write. Because as you get excited about your project, and as you gain confidence as a writer, you're not going to be able to help but want to go down to that computer and write every spare minute you get. And you're going to find that the things that you think are priorities now suddenly don't seem as important when you're eager and excited to get back to your story. So even if all you have is a limited time to write each week, and you know that it's going to be that way for a while because your kids have to get older or your job is too demanding, stick to those 2 hours, stay committed, keep progressing, and the more you write, the more you will write. Now lastly, if you're having trouble with this or any other area of your writing career and you need some help, please go to my website at teresafunk.com and look at my coaching services, and let's set up a consultation. Let's work through the issues that are keeping you from writing or helping you progress in your career, and set up a consultation to get you moving in the right direction. I look forward to working with you.